So today we're going deep on Malaysia
Okay.
and their social and solidarity economy, SSE for short.
Right.
I always thought of economics as this kind of like,
Yeah.
dry, numbers-heavy thing.
Yeah.
But this ILO brief, based on Professor Dr. Dennison's research,
Right.
it really changed my perspective.
Uh-huh.
It turns out Malaysia has like a really vibrant SSE scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about,
Right.
people-powered change and ethical business and a whole lot more.
It's really fascinating how Malaysia blends economic growth with, social good.
Yeah, totally.
It's really interesting.
So before we get ahead of ourselves, maybe we should define what SSE actually is.
Yeah.
What are we actually talking about here?
So imagine businesses with a conscience.
Okay.
That's SSE in a nutshell.
I like that.
It's about,
Yeah.
generating income, absolutely,
Right.
but with a strong emphasis on social purpose and democratic governance.
Yeah.
Think like worker cooperatives,
Yeah.
community-owned enterprises, businesses tackling social or environmental challenges head-on,
Okay.
things like that.
So not your typical
Perfect.
corporate jungle.
No.
Yeah. And what I thought was really interesting was that this isn't like some new fad in Malaysia.
Right.
The ILO brief talks about how deeply rooted it is in Malaysian culture.
Oh, absolutely.
It goes back centuries
Yeah.
to this concept of gotong royong, which basically means mutual assistance.
Right.
This spirit of like community collaboration has
Yeah.
always been a part of
It's part of the bedrock
Malaysian society.
of the society.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Gotong royong.
Yeah.
It just kind of speaks to
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a sense of shared responsibility, collective well-being.
Absolutely.
So how did this cultural value actually end up influencing
Yeah.
Malaysia's economic development?
So the ILO brief, traces how SSE kind of evolved from its colonial roots. Think like the early cooperatives
Right.
formed under British rule to playing this key role in Malaysia's economic rise.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a fascinating blend of tradition and modernity.
That's what I love about this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's like historical
It's all
and
intertwined.
cultural and economic
Yeah.
all rolled into one.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, maybe we should zoom in on some of the major players in Malaysia's SSE ecosystem.
Sure.
The ILO brief highlights cooperatives and social enterprises as
Yeah.
key drivers.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
Cooperatives are huge in Malaysia,
Okay.
with over 14,000 registered cooperatives,
Ow.
boasting a membership exceeding 6 million people.
6 million.
6 million.
That's wild. What kind of impact are these cooperatives having on the ground?
So they're involved in a wide range of sectors like agriculture, finance, even healthcare.
Okay.
Take, for example, the Koperasi Usahawan Wanita,
Okay.
K. It's a cooperative run by women entrepreneurs.
Oh.
They provide microloans and training to help women start and grow their businesses, empowering them economically and socially.
It's a great example of how cooperatives can drive,
Absolutely.
inclusive growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you have social enterprises
Exactly.
entering the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ILO brief highlights how the Malaysian government is really actively promoting social entrepreneurship
Okay.
as a way to kind of tackle
Yeah.
social and environmental challenges.
Right.
They've even launched a social enterprise accreditation scheme.
Wow. So they're really putting their money where their mouth is.
Absolutely.
They're serious about this.
We are serious.
Yeah.
They are taking it seriously. Yeah.
So it's like saying, hey, businesses,
Yeah.
you could do good and do well
You can do both.
at the same time.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Not one or the other.
It's not a trade-off.
Right.
Yeah.
What's even more interesting is that it's not like a one-size-fits-all situation. Malaysia's SSE landscape is very diverse.
It is.
Tell me more.
With a range of organizational models.
Okay.
So the ILO identifies something called partial hybrid organizations.
PHOs.
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 Yeah.
That's a new one on me.
Yeah. These PHOs, they're really interesting because they kind of blend social, economic, and democratic features
Okay.
in really unique ways.
Right.
They might not tick all the boxes of a
Mhm.
traditional SSE organization,
Right.
but they definitely incorporate those elements of social purpose into how they operate.
Gotcha. So what kind of organizations are we actually talking about here?
So you've got things like government-linked companies,
Yeah.
GLCs.
GLCs.
They operate within a market-driven framework,
Right.
but they also have a strong social and political mandate
Oh,
to promote, equitable economic participation for all Malaysians.
So they're accountable to, like,
Yeah.
their shareholders and to the public good?
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like a tough line to walk.
It can be a balancing act.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you've got Aranu, which are Islamic pawn shops.
Okay.
They offer financial services, but rooted in Sharia principles,
Okay.
aiming to serve the community ethically.
Okay.
So again, driven by profit, but operating within a framework of social responsibility.
Right, so there's still that social good aspect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, microfinance institutions, they're not always structured as cooperatives,
Right.
but they often share that commitment to social impact as well.
It's amazing how much variety there is
I know, right?
within Malaysia's SSE landscape.
Super dynamic.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach,
No,
which I think speaks to its potential.
absolutely.
But as with any system,
Of course.
there are always challenges.
Right.
The ILO brief doesn't shy away from those.
It does not.
What needs to happen?
Yeah.
What are some potential stumbling blocks?
Well, one major challenge is that they need to move beyond this fragmented policy approach.
What do you mean by that?
So right now, you've got all these different government departments that support specific types of SSE organizations,
Okay.
but a more cohesive, like, overarching strategy
Yeah.
would be a game changer, I think.
Right, so it's like having all these different pieces of a puzzle,
Exactly.
but no one's quite sure how they fit together.
Yeah, you need that big picture perspective
Exactly.
to make it all work.
And, while the focus on market principles is great for
Yeah.
economic growth, it can sometimes overshadow,
Right.
that social good aspect of SSEs.
It's that constant tension, right?
Always.
Profit versus purpose.
It's the age-old struggle.
How do you stay true to your social mission while still trying to compete in the global marketplace?
The million-dollar question.
Seriously.
Yeah, right. So the ILO brief suggests that policies really need to be carefully designed
Okay.
so that they don't unintentionally disadvantage SSEs.
That makes sense. Yeah. So, for example, ensuring that tax structures and regulations don't end up favoring larger corporations over smaller, social enterprises.
It's about evening the playing field.
Leveling it out. Yeah.
So that organizations that are really driven by that social purpose can actually thrive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then finally, they emphasize the need for more data collection on the impact of SSEs.
So you can actually track
Right.
what's working, what's not working.
You need evidence if you're going to make the case.
Advocate for change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a clear understanding of what the sector's contributing,
Right. Then how can you?
it's hard to measure success, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But even with these challenges, the ILO report is cautiously optimistic about Malaysia's SSE landscape.
Okay.
There's this sense that it has real potential
Yeah.
to drive inclusive and sustainable development
Mm-hmm.
in a way that benefits everyone.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to see a country really embrace economic models
Right.
that are putting people and the planet first.
Absolutely.
You know what really struck me about Dr. Dennison's research?
Yeah.
It's just the sheer diversity of actors that are involved.
I know, right?
You've got government agencies, grassroots cooperatives, social entrepreneurs, Islamic finance institutions.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
It's a real melting pot of ideas and approaches.
It really underscores this idea that SSE isn't about,
It's not about fitting into one neat box.
fitting into one specific box. Yeah.
Right.
It's about this shared commitment
Yeah.
to using economic activity
As a force for good.
for positive change.
Absolutely.
And that shared commitment seems especially strong in Malaysia.
It does.
But it got me thinking, are there other countries out there that are seen as like global leaders in the SSE space?
Oh, absolutely.
Places that we can maybe look to for inspiration?
Yeah. The ILO brief actually points to a few examples.
Okay. So who are these SSE rock stars?
Well, they mention South Korea.
Okay.
They've got a really well-developed SSE ecosystem,
Okay.
like strong government support and a dedicated ministry for social economy and solidarity.
Wow. A whole ministry.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, they're serious about it.
What about other parts of the world?
Yeah.
Are there any other like standouts?
Italy and Costa Rica
Okay.
are often cited as kind of pioneers in the field.
Okay.
They've been promoting SSE for decades
Wow.
and have really integrated it into their economic and social policies.
That's amazing. So different continents.
Yeah.
Different cultural contexts.
Like, it's different.
But like this shared belief in the power of SSE.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a global movement.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's pretty inspiring to see it, like gaining traction all over the world.
And what's cool is they're not just like keeping it to themselves. They're actually sharing their knowledge and best practices with other nations, including Malaysia.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it really is becoming this global movement towards a more equitable and sustainable future.
Yeah, for sure.
Gives me hope.
Me too.
Well, I think this has been such a fascinating conversation.
It has.
You know, we started with this ILO brief.
Right.
Grounded in Professor Dr. Dennison's research.
Yeah.
And we've ended up exploring the global potential of SSE.
The global potential actually.
To really, like, transform the way that we live and work.
The way we think about work, the way we think about the economy. Yeah.
And, you know, what's so amazing about all of this?
What's that?
Is that this isn't just some, like, abstract economic theory, you know? We're talking about, like...
real people.
Real people.
Real businesses.
Real businesses doing real things, creating real solutions.
Making a difference.
Right now. Today.
Right now.
And that, to me, is incredibly powerful.
It is, yeah.
It makes you wonder what's possible if everyone starts to rethink
absolutely
how our economies work.
I think it's a call to action, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
For all of us. Policymakers, entrepreneurs, citizens.
Everyone.
Everybody, yeah.
Well, I love that. On that note.
Yeah.
That is a great call to action.
It is.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Until next time. Keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning.
Keep learning.
And keep diving deep.